again, and welcome back to some climbing news. I have a ton to talk about today, but before I do, just a quick announcement. I'm going to also be uploading this same show as a podcast from now on, so you can get it wherever you get your podcasts, be that Spotify, Apple, whatever. Going to be just slightly different. I think just a little more optimized for audio, so if you'd like to check that out so you have something to listen to while you commute and do your thing, whatever that could be, link is in the description for your listening pleasure. Thanks for checking that out if you do. Otherwise, sit back, relax, start the show. And to start us off today, gotta finally talk about Sean Bailey, who has announced his send of Duality of Man, a route for which rumors have been spreading all over the damn place for quite a while now. It was probably one of the worst kept secrets in all of climbing history. I've been very much not at all mentioning it not being a possible thing that had maybe already happened, including up to and exclusively an uncertainly certain level of certainty. So it's nice that we can now put the rumors to rest. Sean Bailey has just proposed the first 515D or 9C, first of the grade in the United States, fourth of the grade in the world. And this is huge, man. You know what? We haven't had a stoner at the absolute forefront of climbing since Sharma semi-officially passed the torch over to Andra in 2013, and now Sean's made a pretty big case for himself as one of, if not the best, climbers in the world right now. And that just feels right to me somehow. We need a chill dude that doesn't seem to really know what they're doing half the time at the top of the sport. I am super down with the steez. Now, Sean, in theory, sent in early March of last year or something, and whether or not he's been holding on to this info because he just kind of sort of forgot or didn't think it was all that important, or because he was waiting for the right time to announce it, i.e., Metal Film Tour, much more probable reason. Let's be real. Yeah, that's good marketing. Who isn't gonna want to go and see that shit now? It's genius. I'm gonna definitely be wanting to watch that. I'm gonna buy tickets for it. Anyways, let's talk about this route, the grade, all that good stuff. So the route, first and foremost, as I said, was a long-standing project in Dry Canyon, Arizona, known as the $6 Million Man Project, or basically an extension of a route called Lee Majors, which is a climb that was put up by Nathaniel Coleman back in 2018 as a 514D/9A. Here's a link to the uncut send of that climb by Nathaniel if you want to check it out. Now, Lee Majors was originally proposed as a 514D/9A, but the two subsequent ascents, one by Ethan Pringle and another by Ben Hanna, used an alternate beta with a knee bar that avoided a big jump in the final crux, meaning the climb has been downgraded fully and is now more in the 8C plus or 514C range, Ben Hanna even going so far as to call it a soft 8C plus. So, you do Lee Majors all the way to the final jug of that route, get a quick little rest, and then you continue climbing past the chains out of the cave. What awaits you on your way to the top is a slightly overhung head wall with some pretty freaking bad holds. Essentially, two boulder problems separated by pretty decent rest. Now here's a look at Nathaniel Coleman working those moves from a video that was published about 6 years ago. If you're curious, go check it out. Link right there. But basically, we're not entirely sure how this bit breaks down or what Sean thinks himself. Essentially, we have heard two things. The first is that we're talking about doing a full 514C or 8C plus route into an about V10/7C plus boulder problem, more or less, into a pretty reasonable good looking rest before a final V13/8B boulder problem crux, which is what Nathaniel said originally. The other breakdown that's been suggested, and I'm not really sure who suggested it, but it's more along the lines of it's a 9A plus 515A, which in theory is Lee Majors plus that extra V10 bit I mentioned, into a rest, into an 8C V15 boulder problem, into a rest, and then a final more or less 8A V11 boulder problem. Now I'm not entirely sure if that's correct. It very well might not be. It's more or less what I've heard being said, and I mean there's been rumors about this climb flying freaking everywhere. So it's kind of up to Sean Bailey to clear the air, which I'm guessing will probably only really happen in his movie. So gotta wait for that. Now, as for Sean, all we have to go on is what he announced on the gram. Apparently, this thing took him about 4 years to do. It seems that finding good conditions was one of the hardest things for this thing to go. Sean mentioned sporadic weather windows and only a few hours of shade per day, which, I mean, if you're new to climbing outdoors, you just for your information, usually want cold or for, better friction. So a rock baking in the sun, getting super hot, will be slick and gross to climb on. Not something you want when you're trying something that's at your absolute limit, right? You want cold and sticky and in the shade. Now let's talk about the 9C or 515D grade. So there are currently 4 proposals in the world at that grade. We've got Silence, which was the first and which was sent by Adamandra in 2017. Got DNA, which was done in 2022 by Seb, Big, which was sent in 2023 by Jakob Schubert, and then finally Duality of Man, which it seems was sent March 6th or 7th of last year. Kind of weird that there are 4 separate proposals for the grade and none of them have been repeated, which basically means that we're not anywhere close to getting a consensus or a verified 9C route. Maybe a case could be made for Silence, given it's received a ton of attention in the 9 years it's gone unrepeated, but I don't know. It's funny how the media tends to talk about these routes as if they fully deserve the grade they've been proposed at, despite the fact that they're all completely unrepeated. I'm not saying, that they're not hard or that I don't think they'll keep the grade. I'm just commenting on the fact that we don't know how they will stand the test of time, and yet we speak about them with absolute certainty. It's I don't know, I guess this is food for thought on how, social media, and I guess climbing media in general, including myself, encourages us to think about grading. I mean, we're basically saying that Sean definitively climbed something that's 9C when we're not entirely sure. Same for Adamandra, same for Jakob Schubert, same for Seb. But anyways, look, unless Sean is sitting on even more news that we haven't heard about, he is at this moment just cemented himself as one of the greatest climbers in the world right now. He's one of only 3 people to have climbed a 9A V17 boulder problem, the second highest current grade, if Elias Yagnema's 9A plus V18 proposal stands, and the hardest current sport climbing grade at 9C 515D. Of those 3 people, them being Adamandra, Jakob Schubert, and Sean Bailey, he has the most V17s climbed, with 3 having sent Shaolin, Alphane, and Arrival of the Birds. 1 more than Jakob, who has sent Alphane and Mount Doom. 2 more than Andra, who has only sent Sudan Sol. I'd personally argue that Sean's list is just a little bit more impressive than Jakob's, not just based on the fact that he's sent 1 more V17, but rather because of the nature of the 2 17s that he's sent. If you look at both of Jakob's 17s, we're talking long and sustained boulders, whereas 2 of Sean's are not so much about endurance and more like bouldering in a more pure form, especially Arrival of the Birds, right? It's like far fewer moves. What I'm trying to get at is that both the 17s that Jakob sent are very sport climby, which, while massively impressive, is still a little more within his, I guess you could call it, comfort zone, whereas Andra with Sudan Sol, which is still pretty long, but a little less so, and Sean with Arrival and Shaolin seem to have at least a more well-rounded resume, if that makes any sense. Andra's still the GOAT, though. I will 100% stay on that one, because everything that he's done, it's just ridiculous. Either way, it's incredible freaking stuff, dude. I'm not trying to create some weird competition. I just think it's fun and interesting to make what ultimately amounts to pretty meaningless comparisons. Either way, the point is every single one of these dudes, they are absolute climbing freaks. They are monsters. They deserve all the praise in the world. And to Sean Bailey, dude, congrats on the huge send, man. Honestly, it's so sick to see new climbs get done. I know I was basically saying that we need to see a repeat of a 9C soon, but at the same time, I'm so happy to see a cutting edge FA. Those seem far and fewer in between than the repeats, which just we keep seeing over and over again. I don't know. This is sick, man. I'm super happy. So stoked. Next, let's talk about Oliana in Catalunya, Spain, and an issue that I haven't really covered before until now. If you weren't aware, it seemed for a minute there that climbing had been completely banned in what is one of the most famous crags in the world, a crag that notably features one of the most famous routes of all time, the fabled La Duradura, a 9B plus 515C route FA'd by Adamandra and subsequently repeated by Chris Sharma. If you've never seen that video, here's a link, go check it out. You have to, it's a classic. Anyway, so Oliana was hit a few years ago by a pretty nasty wildfire that ravaged a hell of a lot of the cliff's side, massively affecting a lot of classic routes. The pretty much other stuff around there too. Once that fire was controlled, climbers began to slowly rebuild trails and reestablish routes on the cliff. Now, if you're not aware, the cliffs at Oliana are not just home to a ton of climbing, but are actually a protected area that is filled with ancient cave paintings. And so, last month a decree was put in place by Oliana's municipality outright banning climbing in the area in an effort to protect said paintings. And so everyone kind of lost their minds a little bit. Like, why was this happening? Had climbers behaved unethically? Had they pissed off the townspeople? Had they trespassed or even climbed in areas where they were not supposed to? No one could really understand what had prompted such a strict decision from the government. I mean, in theory, the decree's existence meant that you could potentially be fined for climbing at all, even if you were like, I mean, you know, thousands of feet away from any paintings. Like, nothing made sense, essentially. And now, thanks to an effort by Catalunya Climb, Pacho Sobiaga, Victor Fernandez, and Chris Sharma, who we have an answer. And it's very, very good news. Basically, after all of these guys sat down for a meeting at Paramola Town Hall with the representatives from the Catalan Department of Culture, the mayors of Peramola and Oliana, as well as others, it was found that the decree that banned climbing was actually set using certain coordinates that were meant only as placeholders and can absolutely be changed. It was done so kind of as a part of a recent administrative process linked to the naming of the cliff bands as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Actually had nothing to do with climbers' behaviors. So basically, to make a bit of a long story short, Catalunya Climb and a couple of other climbers will be working with the Catalan government to find a balanced solution, a way to make sure that all of the paintings in the area can be fully protected while simultaneously minimizing the impact on climbing and climbers all over the place. Basically, seems like it was all kind of a false alarm. There's no need to worry. Climbing in Oliana will be safe, and we will get to see a third repeat of La Duradura at some point in the future. Hopefully by Yanya. And actually, also, why it was totally cool that Manon Hily just managed a send of Joe Blau 8C plus 514C in Oliana a couple weeks ago, which is just awesome stuff to see, man. I mean, we're talking, it's her 7th 8C plus, and she did it pretty freaking quickly, so it's pretty sick. Like, she sent her first 9A and her first 9A plus 514D and 515A respectively some 2 or 3 months ago too. So like, I mean, we're talking big improvements, man. It's hopefully some big stuff to come in 2026. Hopefully, you know, that's what we'll get to see. Let's just, yeah, let's move on. And then in less, I guess you could say positive news, Matt Fultz just put out this story on his Instagram. Yep, that's a Shaolin break right there. Now, I've reached out to Matt. He has not gotten back to me, which is fair. Yeah, this is a bit of a bummer because, let's be real, what we saw last month in Vegas was a ton of wet rock being climbed on, including Shaolin. And I mean, look, I don't know what to, I don't know what to think here. Like, is it a coincidence that Shaolin broke when we know for a fact that desert sandstone being porous means it absorbs water? Is it a coincidence that it broke when we know that while the surface of a sandstone boulder might look dry, the interior of said boulder could be completely soaked, especially after record amounts of water were dumped on top of it for a full month straight? Is it just a coincidence that this thing broke when we know that climbing on boulders that are wet in this way damages the interior structures of the holds? So, is it a coincidence that a few weeks later, when a heavier climber, i.e. Matt Fultz, comes in after he's weighted the proper amount and is being ethical and gets on it, that said compromised structures give out? I don't know. I don't know. Is it just a coincidence, or is it the result of a lot of people who should have given a shit not giving a shit? And let me be absolutely clear. Whether or not this was the result of climbing on this thing while it was wet, this is not on Matt Fultz. He's in the desert at a time when it's dry. He's doing things right. Just making sure that that's out there. I mean, look, I don't know. What do you guys think? Is it too much of a coincidence? Thankfully, it seems the break was quite small. Hopefully, it doesn't alter the climb too much. Seems like it might just make it a little bit more difficult. But man, this is what happens when you behave irresponsibly, and I'm not in the least bit surprised at the result. So, I don't know. Mejdi Schalk, Simon Lorenzi, Jules Marchelon, Doi Murai. I hope you guys are happy with yourselves, man. It's just a bummer. And then, yeah, Simon Lorenzi, he flashed the swarm, which is, I mean, that's just absolutely nuts. That climb, I mean, that climb is ridiculous. And look, while I'm still pissed off at him for his behavior in Vegas, I really just want to see some level of accountability from him. I don't think something like this means he should like lose his career or his sponsorships, or that I shouldn't talk about him at all. Like, we don't need to go that far. I wish he would apologize and acknowledge that what he did was wrong, so I didn't have to keep reminding people that he was selfish while climbing in Vegas. You know, like, just, you know, he worked boulders while they were wet, he stashed pads when he shouldn't have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All things that he could have figured out on his own. Like, you know, don't need a freaking hole in his hand. He's a professional climber. Anyways, his behavior in Bishop has been a lot more chill, I will say that. And yeah, like I said, he freaking flashed the swarm, which is a classic AB plus V14 boulder problem. He seems to have decided to give this thing a slash grade for whatever reason, and, you know, I mean, I can't really ignore this, because it was pretty freaking epic. First flash ever of a boulder that's incredibly and notoriously crimpy. It's one of those ultra mega classics. Got send trained by Adam Shahar and Austin Hoyt not too long ago in a Mad Rock video that you should go and check out. And I mean, it's kind of wild that we're at the point where a V14 flash barely counts as news, man. This is pretty wild stuff. This happened January 11th is when he like said this. This is the 26th right now. I very much almost missed it. Anyways, congratulations to Simon. Well done in Bishop. But overall, ethics-wise, like, I don't know, man. Dude, get your shit together. Come on. But hey, that was some climbing news. As always, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to throw in a like, comment, maybe even subscribe if you've enjoyed this little dive into the world of climbing news. If not done so yet, I will see you guys again on Thursday at the latest. But until then, of course, and as always, we'll climb some stuff.